We're going to begin by showing you the parts that you need to assemble the vanity set. Let's get started. Your vanity set is going to come with 2 sets of doors, drawer assembly unit, a main frame of the unit. Here are the main parts to assemble your Asti cabinet. You will also get a counter for the body. You will also have a mirror, a framed mirror, and a shelf. You will also be provided with a cabinet back panel. These are the tools you will need to assemble the unit. Disassemble the drawer box. Find 2 pins on the rail of the drawer. There will be 1 pin on the left side of the rail once you open it fully, and there will be another pin on the other side. The pin on the left side of the drawer you will have to press down, while the pin on the right side of the drawer you will have to press up. So if I press on the pin down and the other side on the pin up, the drawer should slide out. You will start by placing the side panel facing with the grooves up on top of the styrofoam. We're going to go ahead and grab the drawer box, recognize the front, which would be the open part, recognize the top, which would be the sealed part, and we'll go ahead and match it up to the 4 holes on the cabinet. And we're also going to recognize that the side panel, which has no groove, will be the front of the cabinet. So given that the open part of the box is the front, we're going to match it up with the holes just like that. Once the hole match up from the side panel to the box, we'll go ahead and use the short screws on the holes provided. The back panel you slide into the assembly and make sure it goes into the grooves. Okay, as you can see, I placed the other side panel. It's not screwed in yet. I placed the other side panel so that it matches the back panel, also so that it matches the screws. And now I come from the underside and we're going to screw it in. Next, we're going to slide the drawer back into the tracks of the cabinet. To do this, you only have to match the 2 rails to the 2 grooves inside of the rail. Next, we're going to prepare the frame of the cabinet for installation. To prepare it, we're going to have to attach 2 little white stoppers provided with your unit to the middle of the cabinet. It shows that it's 19 1/4 wide. If you take half of that, it gives you 9 7/8, which ends up being right around here. If you take 1 inch to each side of the middle, that should be a great place to place your stoppers. Once we're finished installing the door stoppers, we are ready to attach the cabinet frame to the cabinet body. And we'll just go ahead and place it inside of the cabinet. We will be using the larger installation screws provided with your unit. Once we have the frame attached to the cabinet, we need to place holding pins on the corner of the unit. Next, we're going to prepare the doors of the cabinet for installation. To do this, we're going to have to screw in the hinges to the door, and we're going to have to screw in the handle. Go ahead and grab your hinge, which has a round cylinder shaped almost plug that will plug into the hole of the door. The screws provided, small ones, to secure it to the door with your Phillips screwdriver. And go ahead and come from one side of the door with the handle and the other side of the door with the screws. Now we're going to install the doors on the cabinet. To install the doors in the cabinet, you're going to need your wooden screws, the long ones provided with your set. You're going to need your door assembly with the hinges already screwed on there. And you're going to need a piece of material, which you're going to have to get yourself. It's going to be a piece of material that's thin, but not too thin, to be able to present the door to the cabinet. This is what I mean. I've chosen to use thin pieces of almost rubber sheets that I have. You can use this, you can use a little piece of cardboard box, you can use anything that's thin that won't scratch the wood when we present the door, and I'll show you how. Grab the door, place a separator in the bottom edge of the door of the cabinet. Rest the door onto the separator and wedge it and present it to the cabinet with a second piece on the top. Now, by placing the separators on the top and bottom rail, we're going to cause for there to be tension between the cabinet and the door so that it will stay in place. The separator is wedged between the door and the frame, causing a little separation, good enough so that when we install the door, it doesn't touch the frame. So we have a separator in the top, we have a separator in the bottom, and we have a separator on the left hand side. The separator is wedged between the door and the frame, causing a little separation, good enough so that when we install the door, it doesn't touch the frame. So we have a separator in the top, we have a separator in the bottom, and we have a separator on the left hand side. For our next step, you're going to need to use our long wooden screws. For our next step, you're going to need to use our long wooden screws to secure the hinge in these 4 prefabricated holes. You're going to need to use 1 on each hole to secure it to the frame. Once you have finished screwing in the hinges to the frame, you can go ahead and take out the separators and your door will be installed. If the door isn't even, there are further ways to adjust it. There's 3 screws that are meant to adjust the door. Screw in the top, screw in the bottom, and the screw here on this part of the hinge. Okay, our next step is to prepare the counter to put it on top of the cabinet. Once we have our counter ready with the faucet installed, with the overflow vent, and with the pop-up drain, we are ready to place it on top of our cabinet. You want to insert the pins onto the cylinders in the corner of the counter. So you can see the cylinders went into the pins. Adjust and tighten these little screws with our smaller Allen wrench. The countertop, the faucet, the drain, the overflow valve, the doors, everything's put together. The last thing you have to do is put in a shelf, like we see right here, and a mirror. Your shelf is going to come with 2 small brackets like this and 2 screws. You go ahead and install the brackets in a place which is going to allow you to have enough space to turn the faucet on, which you turn on by flipping up. So make sure you have enough space for your faucet to go up, and then determine where you want your shelf to be, and go ahead and install your